What's going on, everyone? And before we get into the tier list, I did want to mention that I do have memberships. I've had memberships for a little while now, and I haven't promoted it in a while. But yeah, if you do like my content and you do want to support me while also having a little bit of perks along with the membership, then do consider, as this is a great way to support me. It is $2.99 a month. You get these loyalty badges, which I think are pretty sick. I may have a bias though. You also get custom emotes for the people who join this, on top of shout outs at the end of my videos. If you stay long enough to the end of most of my videos, you'll see the list where you would put what your name would be. And then finally, we do have a gameplay review / coaching priority. If you get this will give you priority to allowing me to help you with gameplay reviews or coaching priorities, or even like a build thing, any type of thing related to Smite that I can help you with, as long as it's not too crazy, like taking over your account or something. Then I'll be sure to give you priority for this if you are a member. So if you'd like to support me, you like my videos, and you want to be a official member of the channel, please do consider this. This is, like I said, one of the best ways to support me. But with that out of the way, on to the tier list video. What's going on, everyone? And today we are doing the tank tier list. As you can see throughout this entire list, I don't think you can see all of it, but there it is. We have all of the tanks. So Guardians and Warriors. If you haven't seen my other videos, this is the last time I'll do it, because this is depending on which order you watch this in. For me, this is the last video that I'm making for this tier list. We're splitting up the tier lists into different classes. So you got your warriors. You got your warriors, guardians as one. This is your tank tier list. You have your hybrid assassins, your mages, and then your ADCs. And so I specifically did this to make it to where, certain gods that can kind of fit in that hybrid role, for example, and also a mage, or that tank role, and also a damage dealer can have their own little shine, and I can go more in depth with each specific god. And then also split it up into where it's not like a 3-hour video to where you have to watch it all in one sitting, or skip around. You can have your own designated class for each video, and that is what we're doing here. So this is your ranked tier list for season 11 for your warriors and guardians. So let's get into this. S tier, these are going to be your must bans, always want to ban. Now, generally speaking, this doesn't necessarily mean these are your first bans for, like, you want to always ban. You could be like S tier bans that you're thinking of that can really mess with you. So after you get like your most wanted bans out first, whichever class you decide it is, for example, like Achilles and Neja, or like your top bans that you always want to make sure you're trying to get out. But also, there might be other gods in here that is S plus tier that you want to get out as well and think about for bans. S tier is just like your really good gods that are borderline S plus tier, who are above just solid. They're like really good. A is your solid pick, very good, not the greatest, not the worst, but really solid pick. B is like your mid, it's like meh. There are other gods above that do better. C is niche for a specific god, team comps, or just basically team comps, or like what you want to try and do with this pick. D is dog shit. So with that out the way, let's get into this. So this is gonna be the interesting one, because currently, I actually have a note here on one that I almost forgot to mention, but currently guardians are super good right now, with all of the changes to like conduit gem, certain things like AA warriors not being in the best position. They're still really good, and all the warriors right now are viable, which if you said a season ago, I'd say you're out your mind, because all warriors are bad at that point. But basically, here's what I wrote down. AA warriors are still good and viable. However, with the recent buffs and nerfs, with like recent buffs to Conduit Gem, making Guardians a lot better, other buffs to Odin, recent nerfs to Phalanx and Envenom XD, which definitely hurts a lot of the AA warriors at Envenom XD, Phalanx, on top of other gods being buffed up like Odin, and even baubles to help out those warriors that spam out abilities, although not good on every god. It doesn't help out a lot of the AA warriors. So with that being said, and we'll get to it, but just because of that certain gods like Osiris, Bellona, other AA warriors are not doing not as hot in my opinion, but they're still pretty solid nonetheless. But like I said, we'll get into it. So first up on the list is Achilles. Nothing really much changes here. Very solid, super good, busted even. You know, the things that Achilles does. Basically, you can build him full tank, does the damage like a full damage assassin. Has executes that just follow up on executes on executes on executes. And in my opinion, I think Achilles is a little bit better to this meta because he can kill tanks. And tanks are a lot harder to get down below that threshold to kill and secure kills compared to squishies. So having the execute can actually kill them even better. So Achilles is still your most wanted, your best band for your warriors and guardians. But in general, I think one of your top bands either way. So that's it. I'm just gonna say about that god because he's obviously super busted. Amaterasu. So she's gotten, you know, a couple patches ago, I would have put her in S, but because of like what I said earlier, AA Warrior's not doing as great because of all the different changes to every single god. Not specifically like a direct target to like a class, the AA class, just small things that have been pushing them out the meta. I think Amaterasu is probably at that A mark. Still super really good. Still super good with the ability base. They haven't changed Shoguns, Berserkers. Phalanx doesn't affect us too much, but you know, if you want to go up against against your hunters and stuff like that, it is a little bit harder to get Phalanx online because you're missing like 10 prots from what it was buffed and nerfed. But still super good. You go Axe into Berserker, Shoguns, and then you can go other items if you don't want to go Xe, although I still think Xe is still pretty good. Because it just shreds tanks late game. You can go Pridwin, Spirit Robe, Mantle of Discord, and then obviously Kins. With her, you can go, what is that? Vital Amplifier. You can go Vital Amplifier on her really well. Or it works really well with her because of her her one that gives her healing. So I think Amaterasu is very good. And don't get me wrong, once you get to late game, your AA warriors are fucking disgusting. That's when they fucking shine. Your Acts of Animosity on top of your Kins, on top of like you're just having a max attack speed is gonna be very good. And not to mention items like Talisman are very good. And it can facilitate your hunter. So the double tank team comp is obviously still in the meta. And I think we're in a better position because it's not just AA warriors that are really busted for that tank slot, but also other specific warriors are good for that slot as well. But once you get that late game, the AA warriors fucking slap and shred. Aphrodite, I'm gonna put into S, and that's just because of Baubles. I would put her in A, but Baubles is absolutely disgusting. I've seen a couple games, I haven't played her yet with the Baubles. I've seen a couple games where she's put Baubles on Aphrodite, and she just heals them forever. Takes a little bit to get there. Not the craziest amount of items that you can get cooldown from. Obviously, you always build Breastplate on her. Genji is another item that you want to put on her. Prophetic is not great on her, so you don't want to do that. But, you know, Sands of Time is good. And so you just build Sands of Time, Breastplate, Genji's, and then you go into Baubles, and then you just... doesn't matter how much anti-heal you have. You just heal all the fucking time. Infinite mana. Super fucking good and busted. So if you want to start playing Aphro before they change Baubles, I'm assuming in 11.4, you should do that now because she's super good. And I think not a lot of people are playing her enough. Ares, I think, is S tier. Sort of like a counter pick, but even if you're not using this god for a counter pick, I still think he's really, really good. The amount of damage he does on top of items like Mystical Mail, which is really good in the meta right now, and is actually why a lot of these warriors are really good, and even Guardians, specifically like Cerberus and Guan. But with Ares, he just has everything. I mean, any type of god that has like a dash or like a getaway ability, you use your 1 and stops or cripple. 3 does a lot of damage. Not a lot of things changed Ares. I think they nerfed him a while back when he was like S plus tier, and now it turned him to S, and not a lot changed. He's just played more because of the double tank team comp currently right now. So I think Ares is in that S spot. Not much change. Still very solid. Good counter picks, but even if there isn't any counter picks, he still is very solid. Relic Dagger is really good on him, and you can just blink, ult in. If you have Relic Dagger, you always have your beads up, your blink up, holy shit, and you can just basically beads burn them with your ult and shit like that. So I will say that he is a little bit harder to play mechanically because of his one. It is a very short, thin line. So if you miss your chains, it kind of sucks, and especially if the enemy team is pretty wiggly. So it can be a little bit of a disservice if you play him and you're not really good at hitting his chains and shit like that. So just keep that in mind. But otherwise, he's so fucking good. Artio, I think, is a little bit better now. Items like she's sort of like a bruiser. She's always been like a bruiser, not really your peel type god. So if you go double guardian, which is really good, you could go into like a traditional guardian like Cabrakan that has a lot of CC. Go like a Horus that has a lot of CC, and then you could go like a god like Artio, where she kind of builds selfish. You can even go into tablet, which just does a disgusting amount of damage. You can go Santa Time or Warrior's Axe, and just build selfish with a lot of cooldown. You can go breastplate, especially with tablet, that kind of fucks. Glad shield, gauntlet of prophetic. She stacks prophetic really well, and then eventually, if you wanted to, you could put baubles in that. There's so many things you can do with her as a bruiser, and I think she's creeping up in there. I think that we're starting to, at least I am, we're just gonna start playing her a little bit more because of that tablet and proc build that she's been going on. But as you'll see, most of these guardians are gonna be and warriors are gonna be top of the list because they're just so good right now. Athena's fallen down a little bit, and that's just because of the change from double tank team comp. With her being able to set up with 2 people in the backline doing a lot of damage, it was a lot more value out of that taunt, where you're able to burst people down and get people's beads a lot more. You don't have to worry about taunting 2 tanks that just don't die. And so if you build Athena, if you play Athena, it's going to be she's still really good. Taunting into a hunter late game with 2 tanks is still so fucking good. Getting free damage with your hunter, for example, or even a mage is super good, I think. But I think she's just not as good because I think she thrives more off of the traditional tank, traditional team comp than it would be double tank, but still a pretty solid god, still up in that A. Atlas, S tier, another god you want to be prioritizing banning. Super fucking good damage, great peel. He's never really not been at the top, either S plus, and currently he's S plus. Really good. Using his obviously all his CC. Weirdly enough, he's kind of like a hybrid god between being like traditional CC and then setup and peel, and then you have the amount of damage that he fucking does. So he's kind of best of both worlds. Not the greatest at like peeling, not the greatest at damage compared to everything else, other gods, but does a fuck ton of damage. Has a lot of potential. His ult shreds, protections and shit like that. Glad shield's really good on him. Prophetic you could stack easily. Technically you could go you could still go tablet. I wouldn't suggest that, generally speaking. But if you have a double tank, if you have a double guardian team comp, you can definitely build that and have another like traditional guardian that has more peel and setup, and you just fuck. He just does so much damage as everything. As a dash, get away. Basically has a Fenrir ult, and it's still, I always say that shit, procs is 1. They did so much damage. Getting your Glad Shield, Warrior's Axe proc if you're building that, if you're not building Sands. And then if you have a tablet or, you know, any other type of proc type item, I think super good. But specifically that Glad Shield is disgusting on him. So he's S plus here. You want to make sure you're prioritizing banning him. I wouldn't say like first round bans or other gods you want to pay attention to, but you know, if they're gonna pick a guardian and you have like 2 bans left, Atlas has got to be one of the ones that you want to ban. Bacchus I think is S tier. You can borderline S plus tier if you want to put him there. I just don't put him S plus tier because there's so many other guardians and warriors that are just better, mainly guardians, than I'm looking at it, that are just so fucking good right now. I mean, but Bacchus is still S tier. That's still crazy to me. He's so fucking good. Has the setup out of the ass with his 2 and 3. His burp is a little easy to silence or stun out of, but generally speaking, I mean, it has anti-heal. If you don't have anything to stop it, then he just does whatever he wants. He does a fuck ton of damage. You can build Glad Shield on him as well, and he's just super good too there. So like, so many things that he can do. Old King of Joust, but because of all these fucking guardians that have been coming in the meta, he's just been kind of going down a little bit because there are just so many other guardians and warriors that are better than him. But I never complain whenever I see a Bacchus. Traditional, solid, damage type of peel setup god. Love it. Always will love Bacchus. Don't think he'll ever fall below S. Baron, I'm going to put an S as well as the tank hybrid type of god. One build that I've been liking on him a lot is your Sands, Gauntlet, or Prophetic, depending on what you want. Chronos or Breastplate, you can interchange these, but basically items that give you cooldown. Relic Daggers, another one, Spirit Robe or Mantle of Discord. Those items in conjunction, and then going into Baubles, and he's just so disgusting. You have the damage, you're throwing out abilities all the time, and I think traditionally Baron is just a better tank / hybrid god in general, so I think he's definitely that S tier. I don't think he's S plus, which I was thinking he was going to be. I think he was going to be a must ban, but there's still other Guardians that are just so much better because Guardians got buffed. Very similar to Amaterasu, I'm going to put Bellona in A. It's very similar to Ama. So Bellona is a type of god that I think is better against hunters and other AA warriors, or any other AA gods in general. And so you can really just counterpick. So if they have like a AA warrior and a hunter, for example, you can pick Bellona and counter them with your 1. You have your 3, which is a disarm, so they can't auto anymore. You have your ult. I mean, you can build her very, very much to counter the enemy team if they play her like that. But if they don't, then I would suggest playing Ama. But again, the AA warrior build, the AA warrior build is still pretty solid. You'll see that it's a little bit lower than a lot of the other guardians and warriors that are more ability based, some of them, but super solid still. Bellona is one of those gods that you kind of counter with, more aligned with autos. I mean, they're both auto based, but I think Bellona really shines on her autos. So I'm sorry, no, Ama shines more with her autos. Bellona, you can build like Pridwin a lot on her more, and you can proc Pridwin with her ult. You get it close and you can proc it. I think a Pridwin's probably a little bit better on Bellona while going that AA type build, because you are consistently doing more damage with your 3, your 1, and your 2. So I think Pridwin's a little bit better for that. But A nonetheless. Cabrakan, I'm putting in S as well. I mean, I almost want to put him in S plus. He's just like my go-to guardian. I'm like, all right, what do we go here? Very simple god, very easy. Has stun in his 1 and his 2. Does a fuck ton of damage. Ult is great setup for almost like every single god. Does a lot of damage. His 3, ever since they changed it to where like he gets mana on his 2 and 3 is on his like a 2-second cooldown, he just basically cycles his abilities over and over again. So you can have your 3 up, your 1, 2, and then by the time you use those abilities, your 3 is back up, and then your 1 and 2 is back. So you can cycle a lot of abilities. It has great setup, does a lot of damage. Not damage compared to like Atlas or even Bacchus, but enough like one-on-one target. Like if you get to a hunter or a mage on the enemy team, you can do a lot of damage with your 1-2 combo with your 3 and your ult, and you can set up for your team. So my go-to guardian, and I really like Cabrakan a lot, and I think he's S tier. Not quite S plus, but close. Serb, borderline S, A. I want to put him in S, but I think I'm going to put him in A. He's very good right now, especially with the mystical mail plus Void Damaru, and that tech right there is really good on him. If you don't know, Void Damaru plus his 2, which takes protections away, actually make it to where mystical mail does more damage, and so you can actually do more damage plus Void Damaru and Serb too. So you're doing a lot of damage with mystical, and so you can basically just half hit, if not one shot, fucking people, the squishies in the back line, while also being safe with his 3 and his ult. So he's a very solid pick, but I just think there are other guardians that do what he does a little bit better, and so I think I'm going to put him in at A. Can argue S. I'm going to put him at A. Chaac is a sleeper pick. I think he's really good right now. Does a lot of fucking damage. Very similar to Neath, I was thinking that they just kept buffing Chaac. They just kept doing different things to Chaac to try to get him in the meta, and it just wasn't working. And I don't think people understand that he does a fuck ton of damage. Even when you don't build him like that, you can build Gauntlet, Glad Shield, and you just like quarter hit a fucking squishy's fucking health bar. It's actually disgusting. Now he doesn't go higher because He's pretty simple character. You can work around him. He doesn't have a lot of CC except his rain. So he against like a lot of hunters and AA warriors, he's actually pretty good. You add a mid guardian to that plus your rain and actually fucks them a lot. So he has a lot of outplay potential and a lot of damage on top of that. But I think there are other guardians and warriors that are better. But still A plus, still a fucking powerhouse of damage. And I think he's a little bit slept on. Charon going right to S. I mean, he just recently got a nerf, but I still think he's like getting smaller. I think they reduced his cooldown before. I'm sorry, increased his cooldown, and then they reduced the damage a little bit ago. Now I might be wrong because it's just new, but I still think Charon's going to be your go-to bans. He just doesn't matter. His tablet build, he just does what the fuck he wants. The silence, his ult's just too good. I mean, you're always hitting your ult for the most part. I mean, it's like the size of a fucking lane. And so in Joust, you're almost always going to hit that. He's not really your type of god that you want to have traditionally for peel and setup, but is definitely one of those gods that just does a fuck ton of damage while having enough CC to like just annoy the fuck out of them, getting silenced, having shields for days. The root's annoying, has a significant amount of setup, and his ult obviously just does a fuck ton of damage and fears them, and super annoying. So if you aren't banning this god, because this guy technically or currently is the #1 win rated god, as you can see, just behind Neja, you want to fucking ban him, please. Cthulhu, I'm gonna put into S tier. I thought he was gonna be a little bit better. I thought he was gonna be S tier with his changes too. But he's just S. I think he was a little bit mid to me back in the day, but I think with the changes to obviously the meta being better, it just makes him better. Guardians are obviously better, and then honestly the changes to his 2 make him to where he can just spam out abilities. Tablet build is really good with him. Glad Shield, Breastplate, Tablet, Prophetic, Axe. I mean, you just do what the fuck you want. Maximum cooldown, shit like that. So he's absolutely busted if you want to build something like that, or just go like the traditional tank route, like Talisman, Glad Shield, Prophetic, E-Staff, and like a Spirit Robe, or Mantle Discord, Axe, either Axe or Sands of Time, so shit like that. I think he's really, really fucking good right now, and is really it really shines not as your solo guardian. I think he's more of your not that you guys are doing that, but like more of your think of Cthulhu as like your bruiser warrior, and then that you have another god like Cabrakan. I always point to Cabrakan, sorry, as your other guardian, and then you can hit like a hunter like an AMC, just so you can have that peel setup and damage with Cthulhu on top of that. So you're just like always in their face, never have to. You get best of both worlds with all that. That's just how I view it. Kukulkan's pretty solid right now. Not a single one in B, C, or D. How crazy is that? I actually don't think there will be. There's a couple actually now I think about it, but Kukulkan is pretty solid right now too. He's just he's not middle of the road, but like compared to everyone else here, he's pretty middle of the road, but he's still a pretty solid tank. Very good damage, has not surprisingly, has a lot of damage. He can kill backliners. He does a fuck ton of damage to the front line, and surprisingly enough, he has a decent amount of CC with his 1-3 and his ult in his beast form, and of course his ult in his normal form, allow him to have a lot of early pressure. He does fall off late game, keep that in mind, so you have to play around that, but even then you play him correctly, he's really good. Getting Blink, Glad Shield, Prophetic, Talisman, Pridwin, Staff, either Heartseeker because you're going up against tanks, or a Stone of Binding. I think he's very solid right now. Erlang Shen, another A tier pick, I think. Very similar to Ama, very similar to Bellona. You go that same build that you can, but with Erlang, like I said in my hybrid assassin build, he's just the same way. You can build him with the Rune Forge Hammer and just build him a little bit more tankier with like Kins. Like I said, a little bit more tankier, and I talk about Kins. A little bit more tankier. You go Prophetic because you can stack it well. Berserkers, Shoguns, and now you can pick up Rune Forge right after your Prophetic, and then last item, Kins. Basically the same build. So I don't know why I said he's tankier. Just or build him tankier. You can get rid of Rune Forge and go Pridwin, Spirit Robe, and Mantle Discord, and have your last item be Kins. And then your Axe of Animosity just fucking slaps. Late game, I'm telling you, late game AA warriors are still fucking meta. So if you ever see these gods, try to push them, try to win the game before before they get online is what I'm saying. Erlang really fucking good as your damage dealing AA ability, late game AA ability warrior. Eset and putting in S, man. This god, bro. You get baubles online is GG. I think I have a video coming out soon. I don't know if I'm gonna post it. I don't know if I really like the video that much, but we had to get another one. But you get baubles online and you have like a 2-3 second cooldown on your 1 and 2 and 3, and so you're just silencing all the time. If you can hit her abilities, and that's the biggest thing about her mechanically, which is why I don't put her in S+, then she's S+. But because she, the line ability with her 2, you have to use her 1 correctly. If you've got knockups or knockbacks or something, you use your 1. You have to hit the silence because it gives you shields, timing the silence, and then obviously using the ult correctly. Not just to do damage, but to also heal yourself, get some mitigations inside of it as well to team fight, or push people out for peel. People don't want to go inside of it to get damaged, or make them, because your ult, the more damage you do within the ult, the more it ticks over and it starts to heal you for however much damage it gets to. But Baubles is disgusting on her, very similar to Baron. I think she's S tier. Fafnir S+. Now, certain people might be like, absolutely, you are 100% right. Other people might be like, yeah, really? Fafnir? I don't think so. I think he's just kind of okay. Fafnir is disgusting. That's it. Moving on to the next one. No. Fafnir is so good with his 1 and his 3. And it's not really in his base form. His base form is pretty solid with it, but he's really good with the AA warrior and hunter, but just a hunter is good enough. You basically just work off of that. The amount of CC this man has with his ult and damage, I mean, you literally just buy Sands of Time, Gauntlet, Shoguns, Pridwin, and you're chilling. I mean, once you start getting online, that's when Fafnir does so much. You can solo a backline god. You just like one them, stun them, you do so much damage. Use your 2 on your hunter or whatever to just get more damage off, as it gives % damage to your hunter increase. And 3 is a disarm, or is it a I think it's a disarm. And then once you get in your alt form, you're even a better version of it. There's so many like intricate nuances within his 1 and his 3 that you can do with. If you can hit your 1 and your 3, then he's very good. That's the one thing that I say about him, is if you can't hit line abilities, I don't suggest you play him, or at least get better with him so you can be more consistent with him. But he has so much CC. With his 1 and his 3, you're basically just locking them down. This is in your ult, of course. You're just locking them down forever. Meanwhile, you use your 2, and your autos just fucking chunk. So super good. He does everything. He does damage, CC, and has escape ability, and is super fucking tanky. And with Pridwin, can proc it twice within 1 ult, depending once you start leveling up his ult in the game. So the later the game goes, the more it's better. So that's one of the biggest things with Fafnir as well. But we go here. Fafnir is the number 4 win rated god right now. So fucking good right now. So I'm putting him in S. Super fucking good. Ganesh, I'm honestly, I'm gonna put him in S. I think I put him in S+ last time. And I just don't think there were a lot of guardians and shit that were as good at that time. But Ganesh is still really, really good. I mean, his ult does a lot of damage. His 2 is the most annoying fucking thing in the world. And his 3 stun knockup, 1 does a lot of damage. So he has a lot going for him. He's more of that traditional tank, but does a lot of fucking damage. Keep that in mind with his ult. So he can make some cheeky plays and kind of just run games, and depending on the gods you pick, can actually counter them. And so certain things. I mean, like I think Neja is one of them you can counter with. Ganesh can kind of counter Neja. Either you use your 2 while Neja is sashing to where she comes up, she can't use her ult. I don't believe he can't use her ult. But even if you get the ult off, you can actually just ohm the enemy backline while they try to set up for the damage, so that when it comes down, they either have the beads or they just don't get anything off. So certain things like that make Ganesh, I think, really, really good. Falling a little bit, but still S tier god. I think he's really busted. Really busted. He's really, really good. I need to stop saying busted, even though all these gods are Betes, I guess. Geb. I'm going to put Geb at high A. With the conduit build, I think he's so fucking good. I would hear out people who want to say he's S. I can solo back. I've done conduit and just gone into a regular build, and I blink ult like the backliner, and I just like 1/3 hit them with my ult, and then I just use my 2, and then like I half hit them with that, and then they're just like they're at like a quarter health, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, dude, they're basically dead. He just does so much damage. You build baubles on him, he just has infinite 3s, 2s, and 1s, and his ult comes up all the time. He does a lot of fucking damage. I think he's a lot better now, so I could hear people out saying he's S, but I'm gonna put him in A because there are a lot of other, so many good fucking guardians right now. We haven't even touched B tier yet, which is crazy. Gilgamesh, we're gonna go ahead and put in A. Very similar to a lot of the AA warriors, you can build that. And very similar to Erlang, he can build Runeforge, and he's really good with that. He can build Glad Shield, Talisman, I mean, all the shields, honestly, now that I think about it. And he just has a wide variety of things he can do. He can do that auto attack build, which is really good. You can do the Runeforge build with more like, you know, Glad Shield, and like hybrid, like Talisman or Shoguns, if you want to pick that up. Pridwin's really good on him. You know, Mantle, Spirit Robe, there's so many things he can go, Kins. So I think he's a really good all-around god, has a lot of CC, his ult's really, really good. I was going to say he's S tier, but, you know, similarly to a lot of the other gods that are in A right now, like your Erlang, Bellona, Amma, I think he's fallen a little bit, but still very good. Guan's a little bit of a sleeper pick. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to put him in B. This is your first B. Some of you might be upset about this, but I don't think Guan does nearly what any of the other gods up above him can do. He has his ult, and he has his 3. You can go the mid guardian tech if you wanted to. Not mid guardian, mystical male tech with his 3. But I just think he kind of gets shut down. He just doesn't do what he normally was able to do back in the day when he was really good. There's just so many other things that can stop him with double tanks that I don't think he really. There's really nothing that he can do, I don't think, compared to these other gods that are above him. Still very good, still pretty solid considering everything, but compared to everything else on this tier list, I think he's kind of midway, middle of the road, meh. Herc, I think, is A. He's not hard to use, but like to use him at a high level, you have to play him a decent amount of times to try to use that 2-1. I mean, you have to get breastplate of regrowth. I mean, the movement speed you get from his 3 is really good. He's always going to be a solid pick in my opinion. He does a lot of damage. He's kind of like a pseudo tank, pseudo guardian, I mean, that does a lot of damage. Not quite like a Horus and a Shiva, for example, but is close to there because he does push them away, which can cause certain things to be messed up. You know, like if you want to use an ability or whatever, and they push past a certain way, and it's like, oh well, fuck, I didn't think you were gonna push that way. Now I have to re-aim or whatever. But it's still very good, in my opinion. I wouldn't play him all the time, but in a lot of games, I think he's really good. Horus, in my opinion, I think is S tier. I don't see a lot of people play Horus a lot. And the higher elo you go up, he's going to be a lot harder to play. But I think Horus is really, really good. The amount of damage you can do with this fucking god, with the amount of setup, I mean, you're locked down. If you ever got Horus 2-1, you're just there for like 4 to 5 seconds while getting free casted. I've won so many games just like free casting from the back as a hunter, while the Horus just does all their damage. I mean, you get shred with the 2, extra damage with the 1. I'm just doing more damage on top of that, plus like another god. We usually run Horus, Cab, and I play Hou-Yi, and we just run those games. I mean, the amount of damage that we do, amount of CC we have, like lockdown, is just insane. You mess up one time with the Horus 2-1 combo and you don't have beads or anything to get out of it, as GG's. One god I will say that kind of counters it is Ganesh. Ganesh definitely does the ohm pretty well and counters that pretty decently, so that's a good counter to that team comp. But outside of that, yeah, there's really nothing much you can do about that. So I think Horus is S tier. Yorm, I think, is high A. Very similar to Cthulhu. He's more of that bruiser type god that can build tablet and just run the game with his damage. Not really a solo tank in terms of CC and peel. Although his 3 is surprisingly a long knockup, so you can do certain things with that. But generally speaking, you do want a traditional tank alongside the Jormungandr, like a Horus Shiva or like a Cabrakan, or like an Atlas or some shit. So, but Yorm's pretty good, and I think if you're not playing Cthulhu or if he's banned, I think Yorm's your next best option for that. He does a lot of fucking damage. Yeah, not much else to say. If you're gonna play him, you do want to build. Make sure you want to build Tablet though. Tablet's disgusting on him. Oh, I found our first bad god. It's Kephri. He goes right into D. No damage. Plays passive. Because he's going from a distance and reviving teammates. That doesn't do much of shit like at all. No damage, obviously, and then his ult, and then he's not really safe. He just doesn't do anything that a guardian would want to do, and I think he's just bad overall. I think they need to change his kit or something. The revival is pretty cool, but he needs to be more aggro. I think he has his 1, 3, and 2 for his setup, but like it's just not enough. There's not enough CC for that, and the damage that he doesn't overcompensate that like other gods do, like Charon, for example. Charon, if he didn't do so much damage, wouldn't be as good. But if Kephri did a lot of fucking damage, that would be different. But because of that, he's dog shit. Another god that I don't think is really good, I think he's pretty much niche at this point. You can kind of argue he's dog shit. Is King Arthur. Not very good at all. You spamming out your ability is not really relevant when 2 guardians and a warrior can just stop you from doing what you're doing. You can't get to the backline, generally speaking, in a double tank team comp, and you don't really do that much damage to tanks, generally speaking. And if you are, you're still squishy yourself. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to run around with your 3 against other gods like Charon. Charon's just going to silence you. And then if you have a god like Cabrakan, he's just going to CC rape you into existence. So King Arthur is not really good. Can be niche in certain areas, but other than that, he's not that good. Kumba, another god that's niche. We're starting to get into these bad gods. Let's get it. Kumba, ever since they botched his damage, his CC is off the chain. Like, it's actually too much CC sometimes. He's a cripple in his 2. His mez lasts like 8 seconds until somebody damages him. And his ult is basically a worse Neja ult, which is still really good, but not as good as Neja, obviously. He just doesn't do damage. He just doesn't do that much damage. They've been trying to up his damage, but back in the day when he was super good, he was doing damage and had that CC lockdown. And now they're trying to make it to where he has a lot of CC, but not that much damage. And I don't think that's really going to make him that good. And so I think, although you can make him work with a lot of CC, you got to play him like really well because he just doesn't do that much damage. Kuzenbo still think is S. Now, he's not as broken as he was before. You can argue that he's like top S tier, but I still ban him because he's just so fucking annoying. He just backlines you, does all the damage in the world against your tanks too, with his 2, 1, 3 always being up. His ult does a lot of fucking I mean, he just does so much damage. You don't even need baubles on this god. With his 2 already giving him so much extra cooldown, he just does so much fucking damage. And I hate this guy with a passion. But if he's open, I'll play him because I'm cringe like that. But, you know, he's still very, very good. Not as good as he once was, but still S tier bannable in my opinion. Maui, another C tier god. I just don't think he's that great. He does a decent amount of damage with his ult. I'll give him that. His 1 is a little too hard to hit, so he's got a little bit more mechanic issue. And he's also he's just basically like Anubis. He throws out his shit and he just reels him in. And in Joust setting, you can kind of take advantage of that. You just wait for them to pull you, and then you just stun them or mez them or, you know, do other shit like that from the other god if you want to as well. So I just don't think he's all that great. His ult's really good, though, and his 3 is a pretty solid stun, but again, his 3 is so easy to miss. And then his 2 is just kind of useless in Joust compared to like other abilities. Mulan, I think, is pretty solid. I'll put her in A. Almost B. You can argue that she's B. Her pull is really fucking good, does a lot of damage. She just does a lot of damage. Soul Eater being a lot better makes it to where she can build that and do a lot of damage while also being tanky with like Glad Shield, Warrior's Axe, Talisman or Genji's. You can still go Pridwin. You know, things that you would traditionally build on her with Soul Eater on top of that. Runeforge is pretty good on her. With it procs her 3 and her ult, but traditionally you want to use it with her 3 to proc it. But I'd rather have like a Cuchulainn or a majority of these gods here rather than Mulan, so I can argue for a B. But she's pretty solid. Nike, I'm gonna put in B. I think she's really good in certain instances where they don't buy a horrific or fucking sundering. I don't think she's that good then, because she ults, you horrific sunder, her shield's gone. And although she is really good at the damage, semi good with the peel with her 3 and her 2, and if you count the ult as a slow, I guess that's kind of peel, not like really traditionally good peel. The 2 you can get past, it's a little annoying, but you can get past eventually. The 3 is the knock up, but you also have to jump to do the knock up. And then the 1 is obviously, you know, eventually get into like a cripple, shit like that. But overall, I think she's kind of mid compared to everything else here. But generally speaking, she's a very safe damage dealing warrior. So if you want to pick her as her, you know, as your damage warrior, you could play that with like a traditional guardian or a traditional tank, like a Fafnir, a Horus, or a Cab. And then definitely will be that'd be a better team comp for her, and I think that's why she's quite a mid. Otherwise, I'd put her in C, but no, she's pretty good when you do like certain combinations like that. Nox, I'm putting in C. I think she's better than she was in the mage tier list, as you'll see. In the mage tier list here, I put her at D. But as a tank, it gives you more room for error to use your 2-1 combo and not fuck up. Because like I said in my mage tier list, if you use your 2-1 combo as a full damage mage, you're done. You don't have anything else. But if you have cooldown and you're tanky enough with Nox, you can rotate your abilities, and especially with Baubles, you can actually do a little bit more there. But still, C tier, she's still kind of trash, because she requires a lot of mechanically high skill ceiling. And for Joust, I just don't think it's worth it when you can do infinitely better things with any of the other gods up above here. Odin is S tier. Not really surprising there. We can go here. He is number 5 on the list. So Baubles OP with him. You can just refresh his 2. Doesn't matter if you get Sunder or Horrific. He's just going to have it up in the next 3 seconds again. It's going to be reduced, but he's still going to have it up and again. He's just going to keep running away. Thring, stunning you. He got his cage up with Baubles. He has it like every 30 seconds or some bullshit. So super busted right now. There's a team comp that I've been wanting to try, which is the Odin Kukulkan and like a Cthulhu, or a Cabrakan, someone with more traditional CC. Either one of those are really good. Cuckoo being really safe, along with the cage and Odin, you can ult 3 tornado them, basically getting free damage on top of like either Cabrakan CCing them or Cthulhu just damaging the fuck out of them with like tablet or some shit. It's actually busted team comp. With Odin being able to take advantage of Baubles is really what he really shines in. So you can use your 2-1 every 4 or 5 seconds. It's actually disgusting. So and with the win rate of him, he's obviously, and this is just really because of the changes they made to his kit, where they made it to where, you know, his 3 is a lot easier to use, because it now only takes 2 procs to get this done as opposed to a 3. It was 3 before. And then obviously you do more damage. You do damage now with your 2, even if you have your shield slightly reduced or whatever. Whereas before you wouldn't be able to do it unless it was full shield health. So yeah, you build items like Glad Shield, Pridwin, Baubles, and like, you know, I don't know, another cooldown item like Relic Dagger if you wanted to get Blink, which would be really good on Odin as well. That gets you your 50%, and you're just chilling. You're straight chilling. You just don't die. So Odin is S tier. Osiris I think is S tier. I think he was the best warrior recently, and I would ban him. I don't think I'm gonna ban him anymore. I just don't think Osiris has that it factor anymore, ever since just what I said earlier, just the small changes that push them kind of out of the meta a little bit, with other gods being like pushing into the meta, like Odin for example. Like before, Odin was not as good as Osiris. I would put Odin like A tier, maybe B tier, but he skyrocketed to S+ tier, and maybe that's just me like undermining him, but I don't think Osiris is as good as he once was. I would almost want to put him in A, but That'd be kind of a little bit of a disservice, so I'll put him in like low S. As I still think he is very good with the proc builds. You can go AA build or warrior build with Sundering Axe, and he's still very good, can run down people. Late game, he's a menace, so I still think he's pretty solid. Very, very good S tier worthy, so that's where I'll put him. Shiva, put an S tier again. Look at this. There's so many good gods right now. It's actually disgusting. Shiva, what can I say? Very similar to Horus. Pseudo Guardian, very good procer of Runeforge, CC immune ult. His 3 actually got a rework now to where it slides against walls instead of like getting stuck on walls where it was before. He just does a fuck ton of damage while building tanky. And his abilities are always up, so you don't even need Bobbles to make him work, and he just does so much fucking damage. But you know, Glad Shield, Runeforge, Gauntlet, and you're pretty much chilling with that. You can build whatever you want. Talisman after that, Relic Dagger, Spirit Robe, Mantle of Discord. Could go even to a Jotuns. Jotuns is really good on warriors, although with Shiva I would probably prioritize going Runeforge over that. And obviously Heartseeker, Stone of Binding, stuff like that. So he's definitely S tier. Sobek, honestly, I'm going to put him in A. He's very good in Conquest right now, but I still don't think he's that great compared to these other warriors and guardians. You can argue low S, but anything other than that, I don't think he's like all that, in my opinion. It's going to be hard to pluck the back line. You can pluck the front line, but it's just not going to do as much. I mean, I was playing Fafnir once, and I got plucked by Sobek, and I was like, okay, I just 3 away, or I just ult, and then now your back line is fucked. Thank you. So he can be good, but I just don't think he's as good as the other gods. His ult got better though, so now you can like walk through walls. Like if a Ymir walls you, or like a Cabrakan ult, you can just ult and walk away, or swim away, or whatever. So I think he's a little bit better, but these gods up here I think are just all better than Sobek right now. Sun Wukong as a tank. Now keep in mind, as tank, I think he's A. Now if we're talking about a hybrid assassin like I went over earlier, if you haven't watched that already, I put him as S. As a traditional tank where like you only go Runeforge and the rest tank, I don't think he's as good. You don't really want to build him like that either, so it's kind of not that great of information. But even if you go full tank with just like a Runeforge, for example, I still think he's a very solid god. Runeforge proccing on his 3 is disgusting. Even though it's one part of that ability, it's still so good. The amount of damage you do with your 2-1 and follow up from your team is really good. Surtur, I'm going to put in B. Low B. I almost want to put him in C because I just don't like him that much. You kind of don't really build him like AA as much as people want to. God, just don't do it. Just build up ability. He's just not that great. I think all the other gods up here are just better than him. Even Guan and Nike I'd rather have. So I am going to put him in C then. I just don't think he's that good. You can't really, I mean, you can do a little bit of damage to the tanks. The only saving grace is his ult, whether that be ulting away or ulting into a team fight. But you're just up in the air so long, and at Joust it's more important to there's just so much going. It's a 3v3 team fight all the time. So like it's not as it's more important to do that. And so I don't think Surtur is all that great. You can make him work. People might say he's underrated. I just don't think he's that great. Every other god above him just does what he does better. I don't know. I just can't really explain like what he every time I ever go up against a Surtur, I'm like, all right, bet, let's go. Every time I go up against a Surtur, I never lose. So yeah, I just don't really like Surtur that much. Sylvanas I think is C as well. In Joust, he just doesn't do that much. He's gotten better, but like he's just one of those guardians that just no. He can get picked really easily. All he has is his ult for like self peel. I mean, he has his root and everything, and he has his 3 to bring them closer. But that's it. That's basically it. I mean, he does a decent amount of damage, but like in a double tank team comp, I just don't think he's all that great. Everything else, like most of these gods that are down here, everyone else just does better. You can make him work if you have a high mechanical skill ceiling with his 3. You can grab somebody. But other than that, what are you gonna do? You're gonna root them and then bring the tank to you? Like, what are you gonna do then? Like, maybe late game it could work, but you don't want to do that. You much rather have any other tank here. Terra, I think, is a sleeper pick. I think I'm gonna put her in A. I was gonna put her in S like a while ago, or I think I did put her in S or A plus, whatever the tier list ratings were last time. I think I changed this to S to add another tier. But she's very good right now. Even with not having a CC immune, you can go Absolution with her, which is really good on her. She has a lot of CC. She's a high skill ceiling because she does a lot of fucking damage with her 2 and her 3 and her 1. She got a recent buff, not the craziest buff, like her quality of life with her 1. Don't think it's all that great though. You still want to level up her 1 at like level 3 in Joust, and I think I still think she's really good right now. But again, a lot of these other guys I think are just better. But I'll never not enjoy a Terra on my team. I'm gonna be honest. I love seeing Terra and I love playing Terra. Tier, I'm gonna put him in B. I think he can do things, but you have to play him perfectly. You have to blink in, get the back line, fearless them, and bring them back into the team to kill them. But that's like really hard to do. You fearless a tank, it's not gonna do all that much unless you fearless them into the tower and you get and kill them off of that like early game and then make a snowball effect. But I mean, other than that, I just think Tier's too gimmicky, I think, for what he does compared to what everybody else does. He's not consistent enough. You have to play him very weirdly, like a jungler, basically, where you have to ult over the wall, fearless them, catch them off guard. And at that point, he can be really good. It's just like, it's not a consistent play style that you want to see. And if you're playing against a tier and you know how to play against a tier and you have a team with you, tier really shouldn't do much to you, unless he's just playing out of his mind. Vamana, getting down to it. Vamana, I think, is A. Ever since they nerfed him, I think it was a really good nerf. He just doesn't do as much as he once was. The power nerf, the lifesteal nerf with his ult. They cut that bitch in half, basically. He's still pretty good, though. He can still run down people late game, and I still fucking hate going up against him, especially as a mage. You get caught out once, he still fucks you up. Just not nearly as much, and so that kind of drops him a lot. Especially with the AA meta not being as good. So honestly, you can argue a B tier too, but I think like low A, high B is probably where he's at. You really have to catch him off guard, and you have to actually go up against gods that are like Thoth, for example. You catch Thoth off one time and he's just basically dead. You ult and kill him. I've had that. I played against a lot of Thoths, and I always play Vamana, and I just always ruin their day. Just one mistake and it's GG's. So I think Vamana is right around that high B, low A. Xing Tian, I think, is high S. You can argue S plus because of his recent buffs. So I don't think he's ban worthy all the time, but if you're using your AA builds, team comp, like an AA warrior and AA hunter, I think Xing Tian might be a ban, or you pick them into that and he's like super S plus tier at that point. But with the meta team comps changing a little bit, with not all the AA warriors being in every single team comp now, I think he's not as good, but he's still so fucking good. The buffs that he got to his passive with his HP 5 and the amount of health that he has, he's so fucking broken. I'm looking at my cat right now. Come here. Oh. Look at him. Look at him. He's gonna jump off in a second here. Or Xing Tian, but Xing Tian is super fucking good right now. And I think depending on the team comp, you can really argue that he's S plus, S tier. But I'm gonna put him high S just for that. On to Yamoja. Yamoja, dog shit. He actually has the worst win rate out of every single god. 37% win rate. Absolute dog water. So she's really bad. I don't even need to really explain it. First of all, it's the high skill ceiling, and really just like the lack of damage she has, I think really makes it to where she's pretty bad. Yeah, she just doesn't do damage, doesn't have a consistent setup and peel, high skill ceiling, so you have to play her perfectly, and she can kind of get destroyed. So really not that great, pretty bad. Ymir, I'm going to put Ymir as B tier. I think he has a lot of potential with the blink freeze setup for your backline, but as a double tank, I don't think he's as good. He can get run down pretty easily. You have your wall, so you have to play him really well with the wall placement and shit like that. So I don't think he's that great. You can make him work, and you have to make sure that your other guardian or hunter, or, I'm sorry, guardian or warrior is more damage oriented, and as Ymir is more your CC, so not gonna have the craziest amount of damage. But you have to play him really well, because he can definitely get picked super easily. Bake Kujira. People were hyping this man up. People were saying, "Oh man, at the beginning he was S tier." At that point, I thought he was kind of A tier, and with the changes to him, I honestly would put him at B. I just don't give a shit about this god at all, and so that's where I'm gonna put him. Actually, fuck it, this is my opinion. I was gonna put him. I could hear a case for low A, but I think Bake is just not that great. Every time I go against a Bake, I just don't care about what he does. You just play around him. Don't play a god that he can take advantage of, like gods like Scotty or any type of god that just stays in one spot that can take advantage of that. Just don't play those gods. Now, of course, if they pick later in the game, that's not really up to you, but even then, just position a little bit better. Now, these are just like easier said than done, of course, but generally speaking, most of those gods that stand still aren't really good. So don't pick your Scotties, don't pick your Alpwashes, don't pick your Anubises, you know, and then you'll be good. And that's kind of why I think Bake is just not that great of a god, in my opinion. On top of the nerfs that they've given him, on top of the other gods being a lot better. But that is it. That is your tier list for your tanks. And that's, well, depending on which way you watch this is your tier list in general. As you can see, tanks are pretty busted right now. Who would have guessed? I mean, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 out of however many gods this is. That's disgusting. These are your top picks here. These are your top picks you want to ban. I would prioritize Achilles, Charon, and personally Kuzenbo and Odin. And I mean, all those are tanks. So Charon, you really need to get out too. We'll see how that changes with the recent nerfs to him, but I still think he's really good. And then you obviously have these picks here you might want to ban as well. But yeah, tanks busted right now. Not really surprised here. But yeah, if you have any suggestions, you think I may have missed something, may think I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section down below. Discord is in the description if you'd like to join. If you'd like to PM me, send me messages, ask questions, the Discord is the best place to reach me. Also, there's games going on every day, people looking for games, trying to queue up. So if you want to find some gamers to play with, there's, you know, people in there too. And then just shoot the shit. I mean, the Discord's is fun. So people just talking shit, playing games, doing their own thing. So join the Discord if you would like. I think it would benefit most of you if you haven't joined already. But yeah, this is your tier list. I think I'm gonna do one maybe a little bit later. 11 point. I want to do these more often, like 11.5, 11.6. I basically got off to 3 months in after the release to do a tier list. A couple people have been asking me like, "Where's the tier list? Where's the tier list?" So I'm gonna do these more often. But I think that's basically everything that I have for you. So if you like the video, like my content, like, comment, subscribe. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching.